I want to welcome everybody to our webinar today, Strengthening Internal Support for Sustainability Initiatives. I'm Tad Rudzinski, and I'll be presenting the webinar. I look forward to chatting with all of you for the next 30 minutes or so. This is a very important topic in the whole realm of establishing and integrating sustainability into your business strategy, getting people to assist with adopting your sustainability initiatives and to help you move forward as you implement your program. And we'll be chatting about various strategies today to help you get people engaged within your organization to help out with this. As always, with our webinars, I'm going to be going through the PowerPoint slides for the first 20 minutes or so, and then we'll be taking questions. You can use your control panel to ask questions, and I do encourage questions. That makes it a lot more interesting when people are, asking specifics that might help them, implement some of the things they might have learned in the webinar today. So please submit your questions as I'm going through, and I will definitely address them at the end. I also wanted to point out that this presentation is eligible for professional development hours. If you are a registered professional engineer or anyone else with a license, you can definitely earn educational credit for participating in this event today. Also want to point out that this presentation is copyrighted and cannot be distributed or reproduced without our written permission. So today, like I said, the goal today is to really talk about how we can ingrain sustainability into the overall business strategy of an organization. And really what that means is getting internal support as well as external support for your program and getting people to really help you move forward. In many organizations, maybe it's only one person who's assigned the responsibility of implementing or developing a sustainability program. There's a lot of organizations we work with. Some are very early in the process of developing a program, and some are much more mature in their sustainability initiatives. But if you're only one person, it's usually really difficult to get things going and make things happen from a sustainability perspective without support of, number one, management, but also the employees, maybe the customers, other stakeholders throughout the program. So today we're going to talk about how we can do various initiatives and get people engaged and excited about the program. Another thing we're going to talk about is using business language to get senior management excited. Oftentimes, senior management, might understand sustainability. They say they're supportive, but they really need to understand how a sustainability program is going to affect or improve the bottom line of the organization. So being able to talk that language is really important. Then we're going to talk about how to get some quick wins and get some excitement about the sustainability program across many job functions. If you think about it, most organizations are pretty complex. They're going to have people in different departments doing different jobs, different focuses, everything from secretaries to facility managers to CFOs, all kinds of different people you have to work with. And then we're going to definitely get into how to build urgency within the organization and get people motivated. I do want to emphasize that this series that we're doing on corporate sustainability is part of the overall seminar that we're going to be doing on January 28th. And the goal of these webinars is actually to give you enough education about the basics of getting a sustainability program together, so when you actually come to the seminar on January 28th, you'll have an excellent foundation. And then the activities and workshops we do within the seminar can be very specific to you without having to learn, the nitty-gritty pieces of the different aspects of getting a good sustainability program going. So for those of you that have been following along, you know that we basically follow this format of looking at how we basically develop and implement a sustainability program or corporate responsibility program or whatever you want to call it. And if you recall, we definitely look at these steps right here, basically getting a management team together, getting them committed, getting them engaged in the development of the program. As I've said before, sometimes management is committed, sometimes it's not. And many of the companies we've worked with in the past have started at the very bottom, where it was, maybe a marketing person or an operations person that knew that they really needed to get something going to stay competitive in the marketplace. And that's, when we talk about urgency, we'll talk more about that. Typically, we're getting a team together. We've talked about this in various webinars. We're getting that team educated, conducting our sustainability assessments. And, that's a really important aspect of understanding the operation, benchmarking, getting information together on how you're going to move forward on developing the program. And the last webinar we did, we talked about basically developing operations efficiency improvements in programs or initiatives to help meet the goals that you've developed based on your benchmarking and sustainability assessments. So today we're down to this step where we're figuring out, all right, how do we actually implement this? How do we take these great plans we've created and really get results, really start saving money, start reducing environmental impact, start improving our social performance, and basically increasing and improving the triple bottom line. So implementation, this sounds silly, but what does it really mean? I can tell you nothing frustrates me more than when we'll go in and we'll do a sustainability assessment for an organization. We find tremendous opportunities for cost savings, environmental impact reduction, maybe improvements in, their social and community connectivity programs, all kinds of different things. And then you submit the report, and then the report sits there, and nobody does anything with it. And there's could be, hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars of cost-saving opportunities sitting there. There could be, big opportunities to really get some good brand recognition or to get your customers excited about something you're doing, and it just sits there. So really, implementation means actually that, doing what you plan and carrying out that plan and getting results. And often, it requires education, it requires doing the sustainability assessment, designing the plan, and then moving forward with implementation. And as we've been saying throughout this whole series of webinars we've been doing, ultimately what we want is sustainability not to be an add-on program, but just the way you do business. Basically becoming part of the company's culture, it's integrated into the strategy, just the way you function and, move forward. Because if a company or any other organization is going to be successful, focusing on that triple bottom line, improving economic, social, and environmental performance is going to be really important. And it's also a really important aspect of stakeholder engagement. Depending on what you're doing, if some of you are out there and you're working for companies that are manufacturing products, then there's a high likelihood that you're receiving questionnaires from the people you sell your products to, or you're getting requests. If you're making building products, for example, you're probably getting requests from architects and specifiers on what is sustainable about your products, what are the sustainable aspects of your organization. Sustainability is definitely a key aspect of meeting and satisfying stakeholder engagement, both external and internal. Definitely a lot of employees that are very interested in sustainability as well. So this is a really big aspect here is, getting urgency, building urgency into the organization, getting people to be really excited and care about sustainability. And one of the key things you can do here in terms of building urgency is prioritizing your actions and activities. What we always recommend is after you've done your benchmarking and your sustainability assessment, you know where your opportunities are. I can pretty much guarantee you're going to have some low cost and no cost opportunities that you can implement right away. So what you want to do is you want to implement those as quickly as possible, especially if they don't cost any money. Generate some success. And what that would mean is maybe, let's say, for example, you went through and, as we spoke about in our last webinar, just changing the aerators on your faucets to reduce water consumption. Simple thing, costs a couple dollars for a new aerator. Doesn't sound big, but imagine if you're a large organization with lots of faucets, suddenly you see a decrease in water, you start to save money, and you're basically then able to show management, hey, we did this and we've already paid for this in less than a month, and here's some of the results that we got. Or maybe even better, you look at the way you're operating your building and there's something around your HVAC system that you can change the schedule, and suddenly you start saving energy, and all it took was some changes in your building automation system. So suddenly you've got some great success that you can then tell people about and show that you were able to you know, save money right away. That usually gets management pretty excited, usually builds some interest among the organization, and gets things rolling. So another way to build urgency is definitely understanding what your competitors are doing. Oftentimes, many organizations are going to be competing with somebody. Whether even if you're a nonprofit, there's competition out there because nonprofits rely on, getting people excited about whatever their mission is, getting people to donate money, getting different grant funds. So even if you're a nonprofit, you're going to have to be competing with, whatever pool of money is available. And by having a good sustainability program, understanding what the competition is out there, that is another great way to build urgency. For manufacturers, there's definitely the opportunity because most manufacturers are definitely going to have competitors and they can see what they're doing. So if you can look at your competitor and say, hey, look at these guys, they're already rolling out like environmental product declarations or health product declarations, or they're doing something like, publishing a sustainability report or, working with some NGO to, save the rainforest. Those are things that are, might appeal to other customers, and you have to show that to your management. Another thing we look for is identifying untapped funding sources and other resources. So what does that really mean? Well, we are approaching the end of the year, and if most companies, if you're on, following the fiscal year is your financial year, follows the calendar year, then yeah, it's really interesting to me how we'll be getting phone calls probably in the next month or so saying, hey, guess what? We've got all this money left in our budget and we need to spend it. Remember those projects we were talking about? We need to implement them right away. Well, I think that happens in a lot of organizations. So now's a good time to start looking around. Do we have money in the budget that we're going to lose if we don't do something? You might be able to get some funds to help you do maybe a project to implement some energy efficiency measures or to do some training or different things like that. Another thing that has worked well, I work with a lot of sustainability directors that typically get either no budget or a small budget, and then they have to rely on working with other departments and other facilities and things like that. So a lot of times if they can come to someone and say, hey, look, we know we can come in and do this sustainability assessment. We're going to guarantee to find some opportunities to reduce costs. Can you at least fund some of the costs to do this? You can typically get people engaged that way because usually they have requirements where they have to meet certain goals, and getting that help is really, really very valuable. And then another big thing is just meeting customer expectations. Some of you on the webinar right now might be receiving questionnaires, or you might be getting phone calls from your customers, or maybe you meet a customer, and you're talking to them and they're like, hey, our company's doing stuff around sustainability. What are you doing? You need to communicate that to people within the organization to let them know that there is urgency out there. Our customers are asking for it. Our competitors are doing things. We already know there's opportunities here to save some big money and to really improve our triple bottom line, and just getting people all pumped up and excited, to move forward and help you get things done. Key aspect of any good program is collaboration, and I don't care whether this is a sustainability program or this is basically you on a project team. Getting that group working together is really important. And collaboration is going to definitely help with innovation and lead to action. I can tell you when we've had meetings with different groups where we're rolling out the sustainability plan for the organization, and maybe we're talking to the general employee population, it's really interesting to me to see how many people really get excited about it. You think that this is only something one or two people in the company care about, but I can guarantee there's a lot of people out there that are interested in things. Maybe it's saving paper, or maybe they're unhappy with the fact that so much material gets thrown away in the cafeteria or different things like that. But you can usually tap into people's interests by just understanding what they're excited about and then getting them involved. And collaboration for a good sustainability initiative requires working with your employees. If you have suppliers, it's reaching down the supply chain, talking and communicating with your customers. If you recall, a couple webinars ago, we talked about materiality, and we really talked about understanding not only what the needs are of your organization, but what your stakeholders really care about, and marrying those two things together to come up with a good program. So if you did your materiality assessment, you've already started that collaboration process, and you want to keep building upon that as you go into implementation. So one thing that we often find is once somebody has the moniker or the name or the title of sustainability director or sustainability coordinator or whatever, then they start getting calls from people. Oh, hey, you're the sustainability person, and we noticed this, or we don't like the fact that, we're using paper towels in the restrooms, or different things like that. You start to get these questions. So oftentimes when people do call like that and they're asking you those questions, they could be the leaders you've been looking for. Somebody's who's taken the initiative to notice something and to raise it up the flag pole to say, hey, this is something we really want to do. So when you get those calls, or you get that interest, or even you just hear somebody in passing saying something about sustainability or saving energy, or community gardening, whatever they're interested in, they could be the people you want to get engaged. And think about it, in any organization, somebody sitting in logistics or human resources is probably saying, what do I have? What's my role in sustainability? I don't really know how I can do anything. I'm not responsible for our electricity or the paper towels we buy. But your goal would be to, identify those folks that do have an interest, get them excited, get them on your team, and try to get them to help you out with spreading the messages, understanding how their job can be related to sustainability, and getting them excited about it. Another important thing is definitely developing a communication system. It could be a matter of sending out emails. It could be a matter of, every time you have a company meeting or a safety meeting, taking 1 or 2 minutes to talk about the sustainability program or different initiatives or something you saw that a competitor was doing. We've done work with a couple companies, and I know some folks, at Unilever, they basically have a blog they put out, and they actually have an intranet site and a little newsletter they put out talking about the various initiatives with the Sustainable Living Plan. So that's a great way to do it, because they're getting people excited. And then also video boards. A lot of times you go to different places now, and people have a video board that might show the stock price or messaging about upcoming company event or whatever. Video boards are another great way to get that communication out. I will continue and always do continue to say that education and training is really critical. It's great that there's so many of you on this webinar today, because you're really interested in this and trying to learn different things you could be doing within your organization. But having even simple sessions where you're introducing, let's say you just rolled out a sustainability program. We're working with a pharmaceutical company right now. They just rolled out new goals, and they're getting people educated about how they can contribute to helping to achieve these goals. Because remember, goals are always typically like a big umbrella, and then to meet those goals requires people working in different departments, in different operations, maybe different facilities, to focus on specifics in their organizations and activities that's going to help meet the overarching goals. So educating people is really important. And then even innovative employee benefit options. And what I mean by that is, it could be as simple as, hey, somebody came up with a great idea on how we can save energy. Let's give them a gift certificate for lunch. Or they come up with something really good. Maybe you give them a gift certificate to go out to dinner with their significant other. Different things like that are really helpful. But it could even be to the point where sustainability initiatives and requirements get built into employees' performance. We're working at a large company right now, and for years the employees were really engaged in sustainability. They were really excited, but they never had the commitment from the CEO. And suddenly the CEO, the board of director, made it a requirement that he start to focus on improving energy, water, and waste reductions in all the manufacturing facilities. Then suddenly he was really excited about sustainability, because the program was already in place. He was able to capitalize on that, and he knew that his performance and his compensation was going to be dependent on the success of this. And that can actually be done for many employees within an organization, especially where you have some leeway. And I like this at the very bottom here, this bullet about making it real. If you're talking about sustainability and you're using big words, people aren't really going to get that. I think you got to bring it down to a level that people can really connect. When somebody says to you, hey, I don't like the fact that we use styrofoam cups in our cafeteria, that's a sign that they're caring, they're interested. Or if you're talking to senior management, they're not going to want to hear when we implement this new energy efficiency measure, we're going to reduce all these greenhouse gases. You want to be telling your senior management, we implement this energy efficiency measure, we're going to save $50,000, and it's going to pay for itself in a year and a half or 2 months or whatever. You got to talk dollars and cents. That's what people really get, and I can tell you that's what's been successful for us. I'm extremely committed to sustainability, and very excited that people are willing to learn about this and get involved. But I would never go in and talk to senior managers and talk about the environmental benefits. I'm going to talk about the economic benefits first. People will get that. If you're talking to someone in logistics, hey, you may not know it, but the way we ship our products has an impact not only on the environment, but how much money it costs us. If we can find a lower impact means of shipping, if we can find maybe companies that follow EPA requirements in regard to fleet standards or different things like that, we can save money. They're going to start to understand that. So communication and collaboration, very key here. Educating people about their jobs and how it really contributes to the overall sustainability program. Bottom line is everybody in an organization has a role in the sustainability program. Everybody in that organization, whether you have a goal to reduce your paper consumption or you have a goal to do more volunteer hours out in the community, everybody has a role and everybody should be engaged in that. One thing that you can do to get them even more excited, I mentioned earlier about the communication, could be weekly or monthly newsletters or tips. Oftentimes I suggest that if you're going to put tips out, it doesn't have to be just for the company. You could put tips out about, did you know that in our particular city or state that there's rebates available. If you change your light bulbs, you can get $5 back for every LED bulb you put in your house. Or there's a household hazardous waste collection coming up. If you have old computers or paint sitting in your basement, you might want to take them. That gets people excited. It provides benefit to them personally, but then it also helps drive the mission of the organization as well. And, it can usually be tied into initiatives within the company. And then, also creating a blog or chat rooms. Excellent. We're in the age now where we don't really communicate much verbally, where we talk on the phone. Everything's done through Instagram or tweets or Snapchats and things like that. So what a great way to send out a message, send out on Instagram, hey, we just implemented this and, save this much money. Or you can send out a picture of, maybe a new piece of equipment, or the fact that you now have electric charging stations in your parking lot to support vehicles. Getting that word out, that might get people excited. Or if you have people that are carpooling, you can talk, show a picture of a bunch of people that have a carpool and just show a picture and Instagram that or something, or send it out, via, text or email or something. So a lot of different ways to get the word out. So when we think about some next steps on getting people excited and integrated here, like I said, building urgency, getting people to be really excited about it. I was pretty excited. There was a guy that attended our seminar in May this past year, and he was one person within this big company that really wanted to get sustainability going, and people weren't really hearing him. Management wasn't listening. And after the seminar, he was able to go back and he was able to basically build some urgency because he did some research on what some of the competitors were doing. He talked to some of the customers, and he was able to go back to management and say, look, these are what people are asking for, and now they're, backing this whole program, and he's got full support for implementing his sustainability program. Don't forget, definitely educating and training, continue that, building that management commitment, and then keeping your processes simple. One thing we want to do is we don't want to make this complicated. Anything you can build on that's already existing, trying to capture that, bring it into the program, getting employees excited about it. Forming partnerships, that's often really good. I know a lot of companies, let's say that you're a company and you have some significant impacts or rely on, forests, or you rely on, something that's being harvested out of the ocean, or, whether it's seafood or, algae or plants or whatever. You can definitely get connected with different NGOs, whether it's a Greenpeace or World Wildlife Fund. That's another way to get some good momentum going. Form a partnership on the external and get them excited and working with you. I also strongly encourage everybody to make sure you're measuring progress, so you basically can keep everybody informed and educated about what's going on. And then you have to really deliver on your goals. Pick those targets that are going to be easy. If you're just starting out, you want to pick targets that are easy to get excitement for the program. If you have a mature program, you definitely want to be working on targets and activities that you know are going to contribute to the overall mission of the organization and really drive whatever you determine within your materiality assessment. So that's all the slides I wanted to cover today. We definitely were able to cover many things. This is a big topic, and 20 or 30 minutes here doesn't really do it justice. But at least this gives you some idea of some things that have worked for different groups we've worked with. So now I only have about 4 or 5 minutes here. I want to take a couple questions, and I got quite a few in here. So let me scan through these. Okay, so I have one question here. It says, I feel like sustainability is constantly evolving and changing. How do I stay current on the trends to keep my sustainability program up to date? Well, number one, you're going to have set goals. Typically, you're looking at short-term goals and long-term goals. So what you want to do is definitely stay in tune to what's going on in the media. I know one thing that we do here is we're always paying attention to the media, also subscribing to different organizations that provide information. There's folks like GreenBiz. They're routinely putting out, it's like information overload almost. You're getting a newsletter every day about activities in the world of sustainability. Those are good things you can do. Also, we often read things like on treehugger.com, really good information out there. And just paying attention also to different associations. Often there's associations that can give you that information. But, depending on what you do, it's good to definitely focus in on what you're seeing out in the news feeds, and also what's hot on Twitter, what's hot in social media. Those are really good things to do. I got another question here. It says, what employee engagement incentives or rewards have you seen work? Well, that's a really good one. I mean, oftentimes people are just pretty excited and committed and they aren't expecting any rewards. But one thing that has worked well is even just recognition of an employee for doing something good. We recently worked at a facility where an employee took the initiative to figure out some ways to reduce hazardous waste and bio waste and things like that. And just by, basically having that employee come to a management meeting to be able to talk about what he did and, recognizing him for his efforts, that went a long way. Now, it does work as well if you're giving incentives. The best thing that you can do if you really want it to work is put it right into people's employee performance. If you're doing anything like that, that works really well. But oftentimes I think it's just, communicating with people, recognizing they did a great job and giving, them recognition for that. That usually goes a long way. Okay, we got time for one more question, it looks like. Okay, this question says, how can I get a copy of the slides used today? Well, the slides are definitely going to be recorded and put out there, so everybody will get a recording here and you'll have notification of that. And I have one other question here. It says, even though everyone understands savings in dollars, we find that this is often difficult to quantify as cost of energy goes up and down. That is very true. Energy prices do move around, and depending on your location, you may actually find that electricity costs are really low. Or maybe you're a company that generates your own electricity and you're basically doing that for a fairly reasonable cost. It is important to keep current on those costs and utilize that information to communicate the cost savings. But I also think that one thing that has worked well is also when you don't have high cost energy, informing people on where there could be risk to the company. For example, let's say that you are emitting you're burning a lot of fuel or you're using a lot of energy, and you're going to have a carbon footprint based on that. Basically, looking at that as a risk. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the next few years? There could be a carbon tax. So I just recently helped a company that was in the same situation, low cost energy, and management wasn't really getting it. So what we did is we actually looked at what was happening in other parts of the world where there were carbon taxes, and we just picked what was going on in Australia, where they were charging $25 a ton for CO2 equivalent emissions. And then we looked at what the company had generated as far as CO2 for the previous year, and we put that, multiplied that times that $25 a ton, and then that actually helped to get some vision there and some recognition of, wow, we better do something. If you do have overarching goals, you got to basically show how saving that energy is going to contribute to the overarching goal, even if it's not just dollars and cents. So that brings us up right to about 2:30. I really appreciate everybody being on today. Just a reminder that I really appreciate when people send me questions, and I get a lot of folks that are looking at my website and sending questions, and that's very helpful into me developing webinars and different topics that we cover. And just a last reminder that we have the seminar coming up on January 28th. I will reiterate, this is a limited seating opportunity. We have a lot of people registered already. So if you haven't, get it in now. We're purposely getting this out now, so people, if you have to get your budgets in for the end of the year, you can get this budgeted. And we do have a early registration reduced costs. So thank you all for joining today. Great to have you all, and I look forward to talking to you on webinars next month. And our next one, we will actually be doing a info session just on the webinar that we have, the seminar we have coming up on January 28th. So thank you again, and look forward to seeing you on future webinars.